Good day, everyone. This is Jenny's Fashion Channel. Thanks to all my amazing fans and subscribers. This channel is all about leveling up on your fashion designing skill. And today, I'm going to teach you how to cut this beautiful off-shoulder blouse with a deep neckline. So if it is what you are all about, you are definitely at the right place. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, now will be a very good time for you to smash on the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a new video. Without further ado, let's jump right in, shall we? The first thing is to draw a line as my baseline. Then I'm going to come down by 10 inches for my bust line, taking 7.5 inches off, okay? You can take 6 inches off, you can take 5 inches off. It purely depends on you. But you can see that this my dress is quite leveling. So I'm going to take 7.5 inches off, then I will come down by 10 inches and I will mark and draw the line. And the next thing is to get my underbust line. And for me to get my underbust line, I'm going to come down by 3.5 inches from the bust line. But if you're of a bigger size, you come down by 4 inches. If you're of a smaller size, you come down by 3 inches. I will mark and draw the line. Then I will come down by 17 inches for my waistline and come down by 24 inches for my hip line. Then I will add 1 inch for hemming allowance. I will mark and draw the lines. Then I'm going to take my nipple to nipple measurement, divide by 2, and I'm going to add half an inch for joining allowance. I will mark it on the bust line. Then I'm going to connect it straight down to the hemming allowance line like so. Then the next thing is to get my underbust dart. And for me to get my underbust dart, I'm going to take the difference between the bust line and the underbust line, and I have 3.5 inches there. So I'm going to divide it by 2. It will give me 1.75 inches. I will divide 1.75 inches by 2 again. It will give me 0.88 inch. Then I will take 0.88 inch to the left and 1.75 inches to the right. I will mark it. Then from this my bust point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. This is to remove any form of pointiness on the bust area. I will mark it and connect it to the underbust dart like so. Then I will connect the underbust dart straight down to the waistline like so. Then from my hip line, I'm going to come up by 2 inches, okay? Then I'm going to connect it to the waist dart like so. Then I'm going to measure what I have here. That's my nipple to nipple measurement, divide by 2. It will give me 3.5 inches plus half an inch. So I have 4 inches on my bust point. So I'm going to add extra 1 inch to it. It will give me 5 inches. I'm going to mark it here and I'm going to connect it to the bust point like so. Then the next thing is to get my overbust dart for the overbust starting. So I'm going to go in by 1 inch and go out by 1 inch. Then from this my bust point, I'm going to come up by half an inch. I will mark and I'm going to connect it to the overbust dart like so. Then I will go ahead and measure the two curves to ensure that they are equal. So after measuring, I found out that the one at the left side is bigger than the one at the right side with half an inch. So I'm going to extend this very one at the left side with half an inch so that the two curves will be equal. Then the next thing is to get my neckline. So I'm going to come down from my bust point by 1.5 inches, okay? You can go up by 2 inches. You can even maintain your bust point. It depends on the amount of cleavage that you want to expose there. As for the dress, you can see that it is quite revealing. I will mark and I'm going to connect it to the overbust dart like so. Then I'm going to take my shoulder measurement, divide by 2, okay? It will give me 8 inches. Then I'm going to minus 2 inches from it because what we are working on is an off-shoulder dress, okay? Then I'm going to replace these 2 inches that intake here plus extra 1 inch for joining because I'm going to use half an inch to join this dart on the left side and the other one at the right side, okay? Then I will mark it. Then the next thing is to get my armhole depth. And for me to get my armhole depth, I'm going to take my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. It will give me about 8.1 inches, okay? But remember that we have taken 7.5 inches off for the off shoulder. So what I have left is 0.6 inch. So I'm going to come down from the baseline by 0.6 inch. I will mark and I'm going to connect lasso. Then I will draw a horizontal line from those points as my chest line. Then I'm going to take my bust measurement divide by 4. I'm going to replace these 2 inches dart intake here plus extra 1 inch for joining the dart. I am putting all the allowances on this my pattern drafting. So when you are transferring it on your fabric, you don't need to put any other allowance. I will mark it. Then I'm going to connect like so. Then I will take my horizontal measurement. On the chest line, I'm going to add 2 inches for joining allowance. On the bust line, I'm going to take my bust measurement divide by 4 plus 2 inches for joining allowance and extra 1 inch for joining the dart. I will mark it. On the under bust line, I'm going to take my under bust measurement divide by 4. I'm going to replace this dart intake here plus extra 1 inch for joining the dart plus 2 inches for joining allowance. I will mark it. On the waistline, I'm going to take my waist measurement divide by 4. I'm going to replace this dart intake here plus 1 inch for joining the dart and extra 2 inches for joining allowance. I will mark it. Then on the hip line, I'm going to take my hip measurement divide by 4 plus 2 inches for joining allowance and 1 inch for joining the dart. Then I'm going to add half an inch for ease. I will mark it and mark the same thing on the hemming allowance line like so. Then I will connect my markings to serve as a guide for cutting. So guys, that's it. I will now go ahead and cut. So follow me closely. Let's cut. So guys, that's it. You can see how perfect it came out. If you are fixing the sleeve, okay, you are going to measure 5 inches from those points. That's including 2 inches for joining allowance. That's after joining your dress, okay. You are going to measure 3 inches from those points, okay. Then you are going to fix your sleeve. But that will be a tutorial for another day. So we'll now move over to the back panel. The first thing is to draw a line as my baseline. Then I will take out my zipper allowance and I'm using 1 inch for my zipper. You can use 1.5 inches. It is not cast in stone. I will mark and I will draw the line. Then I will take my vertical measurement. I'm going to come down by 10 inches for my bust line, taking 7.5 inches for the off shoulder, just the same way we did on the front part of the dress. Then I'm going to come down by 15.5 inches for my waistline, and I will come down by 24 inches for my hip line, and I will add 1 inch for hemming allowance. I will mark and draw the lines. Then I will take my nipple to nipple measurement divide by 2. I will mark it on the bust line and I'm going to connect it straight down to the hemming allowance line like so. Then on this my waist point, I'm going to go in by half an inch and go out by half an inch to form a dart. Then I'm going to extend this my bust point with 1 inch. I will mark and I'm going to connect it to the waist dart like so. Then from this my hip point, I'm going to go up by 2 inches. I will mark it and I'm going to connect it to the waist dart like so. Then on the baseline, I'm going to take my shoulder measurement divide by 2 minus 2 inches. Just the same way we did on the front part of the dress. I will mark it. Then I will come down from the baseline by 0.6 inch for my armhole depth, just the same way we calculated on the front part of the dress. I will mark and I will connect like so. Then I will draw a horizontal line from those points as my chest line. Then the next thing is to get my neckline. So I'm going to maintain my bust line, okay? This is how deep I want it. Though this purely depends on you. You can go beyond that. You can go below that. It purely depends on you. I will mark and I'm going to connect like so. Then I'm going to take my bust measurement, divide by 4. I will mark it on the chest line. Then I'm going to connect like so. Then I will take my horizontal measurement on the chest line. I'm going to add 2 inches for joining allowance. On the bust line, I'm going to take my bust measurement, divide by 4 plus 2 inches for joining allowance. On the waistline, I'm going to take my waist measurement, divide by 4. I'm going to replace this dart intake here plus 2 inches for joining allowance. On the hip line, I'm going to take my hip measurement, divide by 4 plus 2 inches for joining allowance, and I'm going to add half an inch for ease. I will mark it and mark the same thing on the hemming allowance line like so. Then I will connect my markings to serve as a guide for cutting. Then on this waist point, I'm going to go in by half an inch. This is to remove any form of bulginess on the waist area. I will mark and I'm going to connect up like so and connect down like so. Then I'm going to take 1 inch for my zipper allowance, okay? Following this line, that's on the waistline. I will start taking my zipper allowance from that half an inch I went in with. Then I'll carry on like so. Then I'll connect my markings. So guys, this is it. I'll now go ahead and cut. So guys, this is it. It is that simple. And this is all I have for you for today. If you find this tutorial helpful, please subscribe, comment, like, and share. See you in my next video. Bye.